Hi guys, welcome back to Mobbed Up, the podcast all about made men in the mafia. We are your hosts, Fiona Gilmartin.
And Mia Wong, and this week you guys wanted to dive into the lives of Bobby Luisi, Dominic Cicciale, and Joe Barone.
Born on April 21st, 1961, in Boston's North End, Little Italy, Bobby Luisi was a second-generation gangster, raised in the shadow of his father, Robert C. Luisi Sr., an enforcer for the notorious Patricia crime family. Despite his father's notorious reputation, Bobby never wanted to live a life of crime. Instead, he wished to pursue a career in construction and so went to live in Martha's Vineyard. For a while, Bobby carved out an honest life on the Martha's Vineyard, but when the market crashed in 1989, everything changed. With no viable income and a family to support, Bobby claims he had no choice. In his own words, joining the mafia was the only choice I had. This then led Bobby to begin building his criminal resume, running numbers, extortion, bookmaking. He was never made in the patriarchal family, only proposed. Internal disagreements and desire to be his own boss is what led Bobby to walk away from Boston's Cosa Nostra. By 1998, he found a new home in Power in Philadelphia. Under Joe, Skinny Joe Merlino, Luisi was made into the Philly mob and quickly rose to the rank of capo. His job was overseeing operations in Boston, essentially becoming the mafia's boss in his hometown. They called him Boston Bob. But sadly, all power comes with enemies. A horrific tragedy unfolded at a 99 restaurant in Charlestown. Bobby's father, his brother Roman, cousins Anthony Saro and Ricky, and a family friend, Sonny B, all were gunned down. The shooter was Damian Clemente, a local kid whose father had once grown up with Bobby's father. The Luisi men were unarmed and defenseless. There had been tensions leading up to it, an altercation just the night before, and this incident in the 99 restaurant is what led to Bobby's family's members and a friend to all be murdered in cold blood. In 1999, Bobby was eventually arrested on cocaine distribution charges and sentenced to 14 years in federal prison. It was behind bars that something shifted, or so he says. While in jail, Bobby calls it a transformation. He found faith and became deeply emotional about the betrayal he experienced within the mafia, and renounced life in the mafia completely. Some call him reformed, others not so much. Today, Bobby Luisi is a self-declared minister, preaching the gospel in Tennessee and hosting the Bobby Luisi Show. He speaks on betrayal, dishonesty, and emotional cost of crime. He presents himself as remorseful, apologetic, but to critics, it raises a question. Is this philanthropy or is it just a new hustle?
The street. I feel more bad about the drugs than I do about the actual murders, to be honest with you. People ask me all the time about that. How do you feel, what you did? It was me or them, or my friends, or my family. When we're in that life, we feel we're more, it's like being in the Marines. You get an order to go, you go. That's it. We're not civilians anymore once we take that oath and look Cosa Nostra. So, a lot of that terrible things and hurting people and things I did, I think the worst thing we did was sell drugs. I have to be honest with you.
Dominic Cicciale grew up in the Bronx, New York City, a neighborhood where crime wasn't just visible, it was inherited. By the age of 19, Cicciale had already made his first $1 million. Drug dealing, extortion, and street-level rackets. He was savvy, aggressive, and fearless. It didn't take long before he caught the attention of the New York mafia elite. At first, he was affiliated with the Genovese family.
What made the Genovese different from the other families?
They keep old school tradition quiet. You never know who's really running the family. They put a lot of buffers up front, and they're very quiet with everything they do. Just lately, you heard there was some things in the newspaper, and that's really out of character for them, especially with their higher ups.
But a strategic switch brought him into the fold of the Bonanno crime family, which was one of the most infamous 5 families of the American Mafia in New York City. From 1999 to 2005, Cicciale's reputation exploded. He was known on the street as the Beast, not just for his physicality, but for his cold efficiency. He didn't just play the game, he enforced it. His reputation as a fearless enforcer and shrewd strategist quickly spread, earning him a place among the elite ranks of the organization. He was promoted then to capo, or captain, in the Bonanno family. His role was overseeing the family's lucrative illegal operations, gambling dens, and extortion rackets, while making sure money flowed upward without distribution. But with power always came blood. Dominic Cicciale was directly involved in at least 2 confirmed murders, one of them being the 2001 killing of Frank Santoro, and that one was especially brutal. Santoro had been suspected for plotting to kidnap the son of Bonanno underboss Vinnie Gorgeous Bastiano. That alone signed his death warrant.
In January 2005, everything came crashing down. A massive federal sweep targeted the Bonanno family. But what made this takedown historic was the betrayal that fueled it. Joseph, or Big Joe Messino, the former boss of the Bonannos, wore a wire against acting boss Vincent Bastiano. On tape, Bastiano implicated Cicciale in the Santoro murder. That revelation led to Cicciale's arrest. He was then charged with racketeering and violent crimes and sentenced to 10 years in federal prison. Behind bars, Cicciale made a decision that would change everything. He became a government informant, testifying against high-ranking Bonanno members, including very men he once called brothers. His testimony was a turning point in several major convictions, and it was the ultimate betrayal in the Mafia Code. But Cicciale didn't feel guilty, not even close. He later then said it was the correct decision and the only one that made sense. After 8 years of his 10-year sentence, Cicciale was released in 2013, and he now presents himself as a reformed man, appearing on many podcasts like the Goodfellow podcast, discussing his past and offering cautionary tales. He talks about betrayal, loyalty, and the dishonesty baked into the life he once embraced. Not only has he stated that he felt apologetic about his choice to leave and betray the Bonanno family, and believes it has allowed him to finally live the life of freedom and purpose. So Joe Barone was born around 1960 in New Rochelle, New York, and he had a genuine connection to the world of organized crime. His father was a made man in the Genovese crime family, which was one of New York's 5 families, and then his mother had ties to Al Capone. So being raised in that environment, he was kind of considered a legacy-wise guy, and really born into that mafia lifestyle. So as a child, he witnessed his father's dealings, kind of had an unapologetic behavior towards the law, and he was living in the shadows of criminal enterprises. So before that, Barone really never had the intention of moving up in the criminal world until his father was found suspiciously dead in Honduras. So under these circumstances, this loss kind of sent Barone into a spiral of uncertainty, and he decided to reconsider his position in the mafia. As time went on, he chose to take his father's place, and he went in with a more genuine intent to step into the real power that his father once held. So Barone became further entangled in this world. He involved himself in racketeering, loan sharking, illegal gambling, and extortion. And in 1991, he was arrested and sentenced to 10 years in prison, facing charges that kind of mirrored what his father would have faced. So in the attempt to lower his prison sentence, he decided to become an informant for the FBI, and his testimony against different mafia associates provided law enforcement with a lot of crucial insights into the mafia operations, and he testified against not only members of the Genovese crime family, but also men in the Bonanno crime family. And his decision, I don't think was driven by remorse or any redemption, but it was strategic. He wanted to help save himself. So he ended up serving a 4-year prison sentence on contested charges, but he only served 3.5 years and was released around 1995. So during this time, he didn't really turn his back on the old life. He was still very much connected to the Bonanno crime family and was very involved in their operations, but he continued working with the FBI, although he was really unaware that he could have earned up to $100,000 a year as an informant. He estimated that he could have earned as much as $1.8 million over the years, but he never really pursued that financial gain. Instead, he kind of reformed his income by going back to his old ways of loan sharking. He made about $80,000 annually through some more dishonesty, basically. Again, he wasn't really on the path of philanthropy. He was just kind of provided the FBI with the key details to bring down those mafia men. So during this time, he was actually very well connected to Dominic Cicciale. They had a very strong bond connection, but Dominic did not know that Joe was an informant. It was actually stated by Joe that Dominic probably would have killed him if he did know, and he was okay with that. So.
And Dominic is one thing that Dominic might never want to say. Dominic really did have a big heart. Okay, I seen him do things that was, with his family. He had a loving heart, and he was always kind of looking for that kind of, and he got that love to his family. Okay, to his daughter and stuff like that. Okay, but he also was very true to that life. And he was not going to hesitate to kill me. And I think he even said he would have felt bad. I think he really would have felt bad because we were that close. And I would have did anything for Dominic, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so Barone ended up being the FBI's longest-serving mafia informant, and he identified over 1,000 members of organized crime during his time. Okay, so that's all for this week's episode, guys.
Yeah, let us know for next week who you want us to cover next.
Bye.
Bye.